This looks like a good start. So I'm doing a little bit of research about civilian camera platform drones, as I might be getting one soon. A lot of people may not know that the FAA actually requires all drones of certain sizes to be registered now. And some of you guys might not know, as I am a licensed pilot, and if I was to get a drone, the last thing I want to happen is for me to get cited with incorrect use of drone. And if the FAA finds out that I'm a licensed pilot, it might actually negatively affect my license. So I'm just doing a little bit of research to see what is required. So I've done a little bit of research on how to fly drones legally here in the United States. And from what I've seen so far, based on the FAA website, is there's two different rules that are involved depending on the type of drone flying that you're going to be doing. They have the commercial rules and they have the recreational rules. In this video, I'll mainly cover the recreational rules because it's a type of drone flying that I'm going to be doing. But as a brief gist, commercial rules apply whenever you fly for business or whenever you get monetary gains from the type of drone flying that you're going to be doing. So as a brief example of that is if you were to fly your drone and you were to take aerial photography and you were to take aerial videography and you were to sell those, then you will have to likely register as a commercial drone pilot. In terms of recreational flying, the rules seem pretty straightforward and simple actually. And I think what the FAA is trying to get across is that if your drone was to weigh 0.55 pounds or heavier, that it needs to be registered. But in my example, the drone that I'm looking to purchase is actually one of the most popular, I think one of the smallest video and photo drones that they have in the market right now, which is the DJI Mavic Pro. And when I looked at the specifications for that drone, it actually weighed over 1.5 pounds. So that drone needs to be registered. So in order to register your drone, certain requirements must be met. The pilot must at least be 13 years old or older to register. And if the pilot is less than the age of 13, they must have the help of someone that's 13 years old or older to register their drone for them. In addition to that, they must also be adult supervised whenever they fly their drone. The pilot must also be a US citizen or a legal permanent resident of the United States in order to register. But if you guys were to visit from overseas, you can still register your drone through the same FAA website, but instead of a registration number, the FAA will assign you an ownership number that you can temporarily use while you're here in the United States visiting. In terms of cost, you must have a credit card in order to register. But the cool thing is it only costs $5 to register, and that covers you for 3 years. And another cool thing is that for every pilot, there's only one registration that's required, so that if you have multiple drones, you only need one registration. So $5 covers you for 3 years and for multiple drones per pilot. So to fly your drones outside, certain safety guidelines must be followed. Here in the United States, there's a 400 feet above ground level limitation on flying your drone. So avoid flying over 400 feet, and 400 feet is way more than anyone would need flying their drones anyway. Another rule is that the pilot must always keep their drone in sight. And one of the big safety guidelines that needs to be followed, and a lot of people get in trouble for this every year, is that they need to avoid flying close to other manned aircraft or airports. There's actually a rule that says all drone pilots must fly outside of a 5 nautical mile radius of an airport, or if they would want to fly within that space, that they need to contact the airport or the air traffic control at least an hour in advance of flight before flying. This gives the airport and air traffic control time to issue a NOTAM to all of the manned aircraft pilots that there's drone activity happening in the vicinity. Another safety guideline that must be followed is to avoid flying your drones over a big group of people. This is just to avoid injury, because you can have a runaway drone or have your drone crash on top of people and cause injury. And if there's no people around, you also have to be mindful that you could cause property damage if you misuse your drone. Another big safety guideline is to never fly your drone on top of stadiums or big public gatherings like sporting events. As a pilot myself, actually we're not allowed to fly over these events or stadiums when there's football games, soccer games that's happening. If you were to fly over them, usually you have to fly well over 3,000 feet over the event, so there's no factor to disturbing what's going on in the event. Another safety guideline to follow is to avoid flying over emergency responses. So let's say that there's a forest fire, try to avoid flying your drones to see what's going on, because they also use aircraft to put out fires. So flying your drone would actually inhibit the firefighters to actually do their job, and you will actually get into massive trouble if they catch you doing that. Another thing to avoid is flying your drones near hospitals, because they have heliports that fly medevac flights in and out for emergencies. So that's pretty much equivalent to the forest fire. Just avoid flying there. Also, avoid flying while you're under the influence. This is kind of a common sense thing. Like I said, once you get to these drones that needs to be registered that weigh 0.55 pounds and above, you can cause major injuries if you lose control of your drone. And this is the last thing, always be aware of your surroundings. Just make sure that you know what's going on around you before you fly. Know the space. And like I said, all of the information that I've given you can actually see it in the FAA website, which I would link below. And if you are interested in the commercial rules, it's also should be available in the link that I would post down. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And thanks for watching.